welcome everyone to Dave Cooper Live, where we are building it better. We are on our Build It Better Roadshow, looking for the people and the product and the process, helping us all build it better. Today, we are very excited, I mean super excited, to feature this week's guest, Bernd Oswald, co-founder of GROPYUS. The team at GROPYUS designs buildings as continuously evolving products to create the most exciting and affordable experience for all. They build for people and conserve the resources of our planet. The GROPYUS vision to provide sustainable living for everyone using construction technology. GROPYUS designs its own modular building systems, prefabricates key pieces in their own factory, built by their own robotics engineering company. They develop their own building operating systems and uses strong end-to-end digitization to modernize all aspects of the real estate life cycle. So, what are we going to discuss today? Sustainability, affordability, and an aspirational product. Connected by ands, not ors. Buildings as products, not prototypes. The efficiency of an end-to-end digitally integrated process, the lifecycle analysis for the user and the owner and the planet. GROPYUS currently employs close to 300 builders at 6 sites, with Berlin, Germany, and Vienna, Austria being the main locations. But first, before we get into that, we cannot do any of this without our awesome sponsors. So a big shout out to Carson Holmquist and the team at Stream Logistics. They are experts in high stake freight, and they are the perfect choice for projects with timelines with a specific delivery sequence and shipments with high complexity and unique constraints. The new methods of construction need new transportation solutions, and they are up for the challenge. Learn more at streamlogistics.com and tell them Dave Cooper sent you. Carson Holmquist, they are using technology like nobody else has ever done in the logistics and transportation arena. If you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. And a big thank out to CombiLift. They are the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, an acknowledged leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. More than 50,000 CombiLift units have been sold in over 85 countries since CombiLift was established in 1998. To learn more, please contact Paul Short or visit their website at combilift.com. All right, let's get into this now without further ado, and let's welcome Bernd Oswald to the show. Bernd, how are you, my friend?
Good. Hey, Dave. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
It's a
come
real
on.
pleasure to be on your show. And it was really inspiring the way how you introduced the company and myself. Thank you very much.
Yo, hey, listen, I'm excited about this show. You guys are doing some amazing things, and that's what we're all about, is the building it better. And you're covering so many aspects of what we talk about on this show all the time.
Yeah.
So this is why it's super exciting, because you're one company doing a whole bunch of different things, and we're excited to have you on. So Bernd, before we get started, we ask everybody, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, because we will call your mother and we'll have her on the show and she will tell us everything you don't want us to know, but you only have about a minute and a half to do it. So go for it.
Well, thanks God I'm having a good relationship with my parents. So. Well, born Austrian. Yeah, my parents were still students at that time. And then, I think education and continuous learning and ongoing learning was always part of how I see myself when it comes to personal growth. So I did mechanical engineering school, and then, I always wanted to go to the US for a while. So that's what I did. I applied for an exchange program, and then I got this letter saying, well, you can go to Wisconsin. And well, no offense to anybody from Wisconsin, but I had to look it up on the map to see where that actually is. So I spent a year in the US when I was 17, graduated from high school. And when I got back, I really thought, well, engineering is not everything. So let's look a little bit broader. Got a law degree, went into consulting, and then got an MBA afterwards, focusing on finance and logistics, and then really went into timber and paper industry first, but then more and more into forestry and timber. So the majority of my career I actually spent in engineered wood products. manufacturing glulam, manufacturing CLT, selling that all over the place. Austria is one of the biggest producers and actually inventor of CLT. And the company that invented CLT, I had the pleasure of running for a while before getting more into construction. So that was about 5 years ago, and 3 years ago, we founded GROPYUS.
Only 3 years ago. So I love this. So 3 years ago, you're doing sustainability, you're doing technology, you're doing modular manufacturing. Where are you standing right now? Is that, I mean, I see somebody still working. It's got to be like 6, 7 o'clock over there, yeah?
Yeah, it's like 6:10 or so, and this is our Vienna office, and there's the friends from the engineering team.
Great.
So still working.
Well, you know what? Hey, when they love what they do, why not, right? All right.
Oh, they do. They do.
So let's start off. What problem is GROPYUS trying to solve?
Yeah, when the founders team first met, and quite a few of my colleagues are actually from tech, and they IPO'd their companies, and they were looking for other things to do, and they were looking at problems, as you're saying, and we are lucky to actually have identified 2 problems that we can address by the way how we build up this company. And one being really there is a lack of sustainable housing. So there is a housing crisis. It's in Europe, it's in North America, it's basically everywhere. People can't afford decent living anymore. And secondly, construction industry is one of the least sustainable industries all around, right? So we were looking at, how can we actually address those 2 problems in one go? And understanding the problems is one thing, but obviously you need to understand the underlying reasons and why those problems exist so that you can address the relevant things.
Right.
And that, for example, is the main factors that construction is really focusing on prototypes. Yeah. So you just start with a blank sheet of paper. There's no learning curves. There's low productivities. There's always changing stakeholders. In every project, you're basically establishing a new supply chain. Yeah. So you can't get the cost down. And if you can't get the cost down, you're never going to be able to build affordable. Yeah. So it needed an industrialized approach. It needed technology to actually get scalability up, and again, cost down to make a difference for people and planet. That's what we are trying to do.
Sure. Well, we're going to get into this, and thank you for joining us, everybody that's out there watching us live. And to those of you that are going to watch us drinking your coffee Saturday morning or your whiskey on Saturday night, whatever the case may be, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So get your tweets on if you're not out there tweeting already. And if you're not following GROPYUS, you're wrong. Get out there and follow GROPYUS and follow Bernd, Oswald, and all the great things that they are doing. Today, we are going to get into this, and we are going to have some slide deck presentation as well. But let's kick it off, Bernd, with sustainability, affordability, and an aspirational product. Talk us through what this actually means, and I'll put up the slides when you're ready.
Yeah, if you would just put it up for a second. So in the way how we see our company, and if we define what we want to achieve, it really is about connecting sustainability, affordability, and the aspirational nature of a product with ands instead of ors, right? You could say it's easy to build sustainable, right? I mean, there is a nice mountain hut, built all out of timber, very sustainable building. Are you going to make a difference for the planet with one building? Not really, right? It's also easy to build affordable, right? You just save on materials, you save on quality, you do like the standard, simple, low-cost housing. You can also make it, it's also easy to just focus on one. Same thing with aspirational, right? There's all those landmark buildings out there, very, very inspirational, aspirational. And that's easy if you don't need to focus on costs. Yeah, if sustainability and affordability are not the issue that you are trying to solve. Mm-hmm. So in our case, we are saying, okay, what do we need to do to actually connect those 3 with ands instead of ors? And that is really where technology kicks in. Yeah, where industrialized processes kicks in, where standardization kicks in, because all the upcharges that you would have for sustainable products, you can only compensate or overcompensate by having better processes, better technologies, and really an end-to-end integration of process steps in-house, yeah, to eliminate stakeholders, to minimize system changes, to get all the things out, to be as efficient as possible. And at the end of the day, focusing on the aspirational nature that tenants are looking for, yeah, that building owners are looking for, to make the product something spectacular instead of just something, yeah, which might be affordable and sustainable, but not, not a great place to be, nothing that you and I would want to live in.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because that's exactly it, right? And I think if you can find the secret sauce, the secret ingredients for sustainability, affordability, and you can give people what they would love in a home today, the technology, the healthy air, healthier materials. I mean, all of that combined into one is I mean, that's the ultimate goal. I think it should be for all of us globally anymore. No, not just for the people inside, but for also the planet. So why don't you walk us through, like on the sustainable side, the affordable side, and the aspirational side. I'm looking forward to you walking us through how you're doing this and how you're trying to achieve it. So let's keep going on this. So let's talk about this, right? Because you also talked about buildings as a product, not prototypes. How does this play into this?
Well, for us, there's two aspects to that, right? What does a product company do? A product company first understands and learns about what their clients actually need and want. And the same thing we do. Yeah. We did tons of research, we did tons of surveys to actually find out what do tenants want, yeah, to create this demand and actually make happy customers. Yeah. At the same time for building owners, right? What do people want when they operate a building? When they hold an asset, how do they want to interact with the building and to get, maintenance costs and all that down? So it's really understand what people need. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is products are evolving, right? For example, if you look at the last version of iPhone or any other smartphones and compare it with the first version, things have evolved, right? It's a better product, and it has evolved because they've learned to make things better. It's lighter, it's got a better battery life, it's got a better camera, it's got all the things. And the same thing we are doing in buildings as well. So whenever there is a new version, yeah, and we learn from data points during design, during manufacturing, during assembly, and also feedback from users directly, and also via data that we collect in buildings that we operate, to get those clues that we need to get better products every time that we deliver a product. So when we talk in our terminology about delivering a product, that is what classical construction terminology, you would say you are realizing a project or you're building a building or whatever. Yeah, for us it's a product delivery, and that makes a big difference from a mindset perspective, how you approach things. You're always looking for scalability, you're always looking for evolution, you're always looking for innovation. So obviously lots of cost involved in getting the product better, but at the end of the day, that's what you need to do if you want to achieve those three core pillars that I was showing earlier.
Yeah, so you got to spend the time and the money up front, understanding the sustainability, the affordability, and the aspirational side of this for the consumer, which is collecting the data that you're getting as you're building your current projects, is what I'm hearing there. And with that, by using certain products, by collecting data from the occupancy data, right? That's what we're talking about, the occupants, what they like, what they love, what they don't like. Like, you're collecting all of that information to keep improving a better product and using the tech to do it within your systems and within your walls, because these homes are very high tech.
Yeah, like the operating side, like the tenant side, obviously, yeah. I'll give you an example there. For example, in a standard floor plan of a two-room apartment, there are certain electric outlet positions, right? This is what we, in our research, in talking to people, figured out that this is what they would want. But then, once the building is being built, we also know from the sensoric data from the building which outlet is used to what extent, right? So if one outlet is not being used and another one is used constantly with very high loads, in the next release of this product, this floor plan, we're actually doing, eliminating the first one, but then doing a double plugs for the one that's been of higher use, right? So we are learning from that. But it's not just during building operation. Yeah, it's if you, for example, if in our own manufacturing, we have different wall types which run on our robotic manufacturing cells, and some of them take more time on the manufacturing cells than others.
Okay.
We, you know, the algorithms and the logic behind our system allows to actually find out what we would need to do on a certain product, let's say interior wall, whatever, X, Y, whatever, yeah. What we would need to do to actually get manufacturing times down. At manufacturing times, this is the main cost factor, right? What would we need to do to get the costs down on that one? Same on assembly. If we see that certain connections on site take longer to assemble than others, and this would be, you know, the critical path on our assembly schedules, yeah, we know those from the data because our assembly processes and assembly data feeds back into the digital twin of the building, right? So whatever the digital twin really is a digital twin, yeah? It's not like a volumetric model in whatever drawing program or so. It's a real digital twin, yeah? So we are feeding in real data, we are learning from that. We're saying, okay, what can we do to actually get assembly and manufacturing, all those, you know, all those processes smoother, faster, more cost effective.
So, I mean, I absolutely love this. So in almost in real time with your digital twins, you're collecting data and being able to make changes in your manufacturing process in just about real time. So you can continually put out a better product and a more efficient product as well. And I think that's kind of the interesting side of this that we really haven't had on the show, right? You know, a lot of people talk about collecting data, you know, when they do certain things, but you're actually telling us that you're collecting the data to improve the product and to put the information and the knowledge back into the building to make it better for the occupiers of the building. Occupiers, is that the word? The tenants of the building or what have you, the habitants of the building. But at the same time, you're also using this information for the building materials that you're using in the building, right? Because you're capturing data on that as well, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. Also in the existing building, right? I mean, if you have moisture sensors in wall buildups, and you can actually, you know, measure how different parameters behave over the year, for example, right? You can actually have an impact on your insulation, on your wall buildups, on how you do facades, on where you position photovoltaic panels and other things, right? At the end of the day, it's all mathematics and physics, right? And this is how you know, technology companies think. You're basically limited by physics and most of the things you can calculate.
Sure.
And that's, yeah.
Sure. I love it. I love it. All right, let's talk about the efficiency and end-to-end digitally integrated process, which we've kind of been covering a little bit here, but let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah,
just in a roundabout way on
I'm just quickly putting up another slide here, Dave.
Yeah.
If you want to show that for a second.
There you go. Let me take this down.
So we're already starting with the design process, right? So when we look at different plots of land to build on, either for ourselves or co-develop with property developers, we have a configurator that basically optimizes buildings that are being built out of components from a catalog into what you can maximize there in terms of net floor area that you're renting out, right? Yeah. So that's an automatic process that you basically feed it the unit mix that you want to have and the codes, whatever is applied there, and then you get a number of options how you can actually set up the building there. From there, it then goes all the way integrated into creating a digital model. The digital model is, you know, I'm always saying we're probably the only company that does 100% detailed digital model, because every screw and every nail, everything is in there, and it has to be in there because the robots in manufacturing take the very same data from the digital model to actually operate, right? So there is no manual.
Are you saying, Bernd, as you're building, that you don't have a box of nails just sitting in the corner somewhere that's going to get thrown in the garbage? Is that what you just said?
Well, do you?
A lot of builders do. No. I love that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So the different components from the first model that's been built there, the parametric model, actually then feeds the manufacturing cells. The manufacturing cells are again integrated into the same digital process, as is the assembly on site. and then billing operating system, as we briefly mentioned, and which I think is worthwhile getting into more details later on, is then building upon the same model, and all of those containing criteria on sustainability, which we also see very broad. Yeah, so it's not just the materials that we use, but also, you know, accessibility and health for tenants, and you know, microclimates of the buildings. So when you configure a building, you basically know your delivery timelines, you know your manufacturing schedules, you know your costs, you know everything. You know your carbon footprint, your LCA and all that. Like, that's all part of the configurator. So the only thing that you need to do, you basically use the configurators, then select the option that you like best, click on order, and that's what it is. Yeah, and the rest is then going through the process until the very end when you operate the building. And as we mentioned earlier, you know, real life data is then enriching the digital model as we go along.
Sure. Why don't we clarify a little bit the types of buildings that you guys focus on?
Yeah, it's multifamily, multi-story residential buildings. So we are very clear in terms of focus of what we want to do. Yeah. That might get broader as you know, as the company evolves. But currently we are focusing on this one single product. The first building that we built was a 9-story building, and I'd say everything from 3 to 9. That's roughly the number of floors range that makes sense in a, you know, relatively light timber construction, so you don't run into any, you know, fire issues. Yeah,
with it for sure. And the type of construction you're doing, wood or steel?
Well, it's wood to a large extent.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know, we want to be as efficient as possible. So if you're better off using a piece of steel for a certain application, we are not trying to replace that with wood when it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So we apply a process which is called choosing by advantage, and also people from automotive might know that, simultaneous engineering. So we're developing our manufacturing capabilities in parallel to the product, right? So we're always figuring out in every particular step what would be the best possible application if there's a number of options to choose from.
Sure. Let's go to a question here from Tom Reddy. Let me read it up here. With the data you collect, do you allow the end user the choice to use the data to choose options, or are the decisions from the data collection made internally?
So obviously there is GDPR, right? And we take this very serious. So we are collecting data that is anonymous, yeah, and linked to floor plans, right? Because I don't care so much whether person A or person B does whatever they do, but I want to learn how a particular floor plan is being used and how that can be optimized. What users do and what users do via their apps and how they control the building, for example, give an example of that could maybe illustrate the answer here. On the app, you would get a push, like a pop-up note saying, we notice that in your bedroom, you always have the light on while you're not there.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to turn on the automatic motion sensor to control your lights? That would save you however much on the electricity bill, right? And we would credit that. Yeah. So we want to educate users in living a more sustainable lifestyle, in not wasting energy and all those things. So there is communication, and users choose whether they want to automate or not, right? So there is lots of choice, obviously within a given, you know, limitation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Perfect. Appreciate the question, Tom. Good to hear from you. I see Henry Mickelberg is back in the lineup with his long questions. All right, here we go. Given that, unlike some other accreditations, the DGNB accreditation methodology is not specifically linked to offsite amalgamated products, fully completed 2D systems, walls, etc. Are you effectively using the whole project lifecycle components, or is there a DGNB accreditation benefit for using off-site systems? And before you answer that, maybe explain what the DGNB means for our users.
This is Deutsche Gesellschaft für nachhaltiges Bauen, which is comparable to your LEED.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's a sustainability scoring scheme.
Yep.
Where you can get like silver, gold, platinum levels on whatever levels you want to achieve.
So it's like LEED certification type of, yes, got it. Okay.
Now from our perspective, I think there's a couple of things to that. First of all those scoring systems have the upsides and the downsides, right? And some of them you might challenge whether they actually make sense or don't make sense. Yeah. When we developed our sustainability strategy, we were focusing very strongly on UN sustainability goals. And we're looking at which one of those we can actually influence the best, right? And broke those down into KPIs and timelines, and how we want to get better on those. So as far as I'm aware, DGNB does not accommodate, but maybe I'm wrong on that. As far as I'm aware, that there is no actually benefit for offsite construction. Yeah. You do have better values to a certain extent in offsite construction if you can show that your waste figures are lower, that your transportation needs are lower, that you're not spending that much on logistics, shipping stuff back and forth, and have your waste collection boxes on site, because 35% of the stuff that you actually ship to a classical construction site, you are shipping somewhere else afterwards again, right? But if you're in a factory where it's much easier to reuse cut-offs and all those things, you do have typically better waste figures and higher sustainability scores. But I'm not aware that there is a certain component that says if you're prefabricating, you automatically get better DGNB scores. I don't know if this answered the question, but
well, he'll let you know. If you don't know Henry Mickelberg, he definitely is not shy away from questions, but they're usually really good ones. If that.
Yeah, and reach out to me afterwards if you wish.
Yeah, for sure.
Happy to chat anytime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so let's keep moving on with some of the other things that we want to talk about here, because in the opening dialogue or monologue or whatever we want to call my opening statements, I mean, you're a tech company. You have robotics within your organization. You're a manufacturing company, and you're builders, whether it's your own projects or you're partnering or collaborating with other companies. Did I miss anything?
We're an engineering company that manufactures manufacturing sites, maybe.
Okay,
but that's about it. So it's a number of companies in one. I agree.
Sure, right, and so. If as an outsider, I can do business with you if I have a project?
Yeah, you could. If your project is located in Central Europe currently. Yeah, we're currently focusing in Germany, Austria, Switzerland. So this is, our home turf. This is where we understand building codes and regulations and all that the best. Sure. And as I said on the product, we like to focus. Yeah, we already have lots of complexity by having all those different types of businesses in one company. Yeah, right. So we need to focus on product, we need to focus on location, and then once we really get experienced and have a couple of evolution in the product, then expand geographically, then introduce other verticals, other products, and all that. But one step after the other.
And so, in your manufacturing facility, what do you manufacture, if I may ask?
We manufacture wall elements, interior walls, exterior walls. We manufacture slab elements, roofs, and all those as prefabricated as possible. So wire trusses already in there, risers, what you name it. Yeah, all those things already included there, which means shipping. If I take a exterior wall element as one of the more complex ones, it's ready to paint on the inside with all the wirings and stuff already in there, and the facade panels are already attached on the outside, so you're just lifting it in place and having it there. Yeah.
Perfect. Tom says thank you, by the way, for such a thoughtful answer. He appreciates it. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
So for everybody out there that's listening to this that owns a modular manufacturing plant, you mentioned something that we're seeing more and more of, and we need to see more of it in our own manufacturing, and that is the wiring trusses or wiring harnesses. You guys are using those prefabricated, ready to go, plug and play, easy to install, speeds up timelines. and you don't have to have an electrician used to install them, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And,
so we try to get all trades wherever possible into the factory and away from site. Yes.
Right. So, and then on the sites, the assembly process can happen versus the installation process of all the systems.
Well, you know, the fun part, the first building that we built was actually assembled, like put together on site by a team of guys that typically would do fairs, you know, and put like the exhibition booth in fairs, because, you know, our thinking here is everybody who is able to actually put together like an IKEA shelf should be able to put together a GROPYUS building, because everything else needs to happen beforehand, right? It needs to be really, really simple. I mean, we all know that there is a lack of skilled labor, right? And we all know that this is getting cost up to a certain extent, right? And it's from a you know, health perspective and from hazards, you know, and risks and safety, right? You don't want to have too many people running around on a site. Yeah. So that's one of the SDG criteria as well that we are looking at, to create healthy work conditions, which you can do much easier in a heated factory than on a site where you're exposed to weather conditions all year.
Yep, always sunny and 70 in a factory, right? It's like going to work in the Bahamas every day. But I will say,
food and coffee and everything.
Right. Break rooms, you know, maybe a little foosball or, you know, what have you. But the other side of that too is when you reduce the safety risks and you make it a safer environment, your insurance goes down. There's a lot of different things where the unseen benefits come into play from the business side of what happens for the owners, and you know, legal issues go down, all of that fun stuff. All right, so let's get back into this again. So we're talking about not only modular manufacturing, panelizing your walls in your own factory using your own robotics that you guys are developing and installing. You're collecting the data to speed up the process, but there's one thing that I didn't touch on that I remember us talking about before the show is not only will you collect data to make the experience better for the occupants of the building, but if something goes wrong, a switch breaks, a light's out in the hallway, the fire alarm's not working, it's going to send you automatic notifications to whoever the building manager is, so they can order that product immediately, or maybe it gets ordered automatically and installed. Is that correct?
Yeah. And
I love this.
Yeah, and you can play. I mean, at the end of the day, what do people living in a building and what do facility managers really hate? You know, they hate if something doesn't work. Yeah, the facility managers hate if the tenants call them. The tenants hate if the elevator doesn't work. If you're in a ninth, if you're living in a 9th floor and you've got your grandma visiting, right? So that's all things that you don't want to have. Yeah, and it's actually relatively easy to solve, right? Let's take the elevator example. Yeah. The elevator knows once it's broken. Yeah. We know if a light switch doesn't work because we know that people push on it and nothing happens, right? So we can take this information and actually attach processes to that. For example, if the elevator doesn't work, send a ticket get a ticket into the facility manager's elevator system, if you have a maintenance contract with the elevator manufacturer, get the ticket there, make sure that they actually, based on the SLAs, on the service level agreements that we have with them, that they actually get this repaired within 24 hours. They, revert back saying, okay, it will be repaired tomorrow between 2 and 4 p.m. And you send a message to the panels that people have in their apartments or the cell phones, if they're using the app and all that, saying tomorrow between 2 and 4, the elevator is going to be repaired. Right? So no need for anybody to call in. So you're actually taking costs out of the call center of the facility manager, right? So you're automating the process. And the same thing you're doing if a light switch is broken, and it's all wireless switches. Yeah. So the only thing that you need to do if one's broken, you basically send one by mail. Yeah. People scan the QR code with their app, attach it, press 2 times, and then it's up and running and integrated into the system again, right? So you're basically creating a platform where tenants interact with the building, just like standard smart home functionality, pimped up with more sensoric data, and at the same time you're having this platform that actually communicates to building owners, and that goes into ESG reporting and all the things. Yeah, but like just on the standard maintenance processes, yeah, it links all those parties. Yeah.
Right. I want to be an office. I want to be a building manager in one of your buildings, right? All you have to be a good tech person. It sounds like, just to manage and make sure people are doing their stuff and get paid. I'm in. I'm all in. Live there, and I could manage it without having a whole lot of skill, because the system does most of the work to get the right people there that needs to be there. So
yeah. Well, Dave, obviously, this requires a certain degree of scale, right?
Yeah.
Because if you are like a real estate fund or so, yeah, you do need to invest once to actually get all the processes and systems up and running. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the partners who we talk to in terms of co-development or so, they are not looking for one building. They're looking for, let's get 50 or 100 buildings all around the place and make sure that we integrate this in our system, because then it really has a cost effect. Yeah. And same for us, if you develop a good system, a billing operating system or a billing system or a good catalog of parts or whatever it is, yeah, configurator, that really only makes sense if you want to build, thousands of units and not just a couple.
Sure. I appreciate that. All right. Last question here. And then we're going to wrap it up. Steve Burrows. Hey, Bernd, can you speak to how the tenant experience differs from a traditional stick-built solution? Boy, I could, but I'm going to let Bernd do it. I can already feel this one. He's, by the way, just so you know, if you don't know Steve Burrows, he's on the list of, the Dos Equis commercials, the most interesting man in the world. That's him right there. He's one of those.
Well, we have talked a couple of times. Thanks for the question, ahead, Steve. Well, I'd say the problems or the difference is probably if you're sitting in a Tesla compared to sitting in a Yugo. I don't know if this brand still exists. Yep. Yeah, former, like Southern Soviet Union cars. Yeah. You're basically interacting with the building. Yeah. So as said, you're using your app, you're using the panel that you're having in there. You can make use of all the sensoric data that you're having. You can, and that's the interesting part, right? There's also additional services that are being offered via the app, via the billing operating system, right? So it's not just having a smart home and you get your shades, closed and open. It's all about, you can order your apartment cleaning, you can get your Airbnb plugin so that your smart lock opens once the person that you've rented it out to actually gets to move into your place. People can interact with each other. You can rent electric drills, so you don't need to own them, but there is a locker that you can actually open with your app, and you take them when you need them. All those things. So we call it living as a service at the end of the day, right? Because again, focusing when I said earlier, start with what problems tenants have, and what gives them the most headache, and then find out what we can contribute and what we can do to make their living experience a better one. Yeah. And this is things like this. Yeah. This is interaction with the building, with others.
Sure. All right. Appreciate that, Steve Burrows. Good to hear from you. All right. We're going to make this a quick answer, but I want to put it up. Tom's always got some great questions. I'm going to just go to the end of it here. With your maintenance and improving MEP coordination, how does this affect schedules, and what is the percentage of time for a project spent in pre-manufacturing, manufacturing, assembly, and installation? So I think he's looking for what's the life cycle from the time you start designing all the way through implementation, and does the technology add to this timeline in a significant way?
Mm-hmm. So we just acquired a plot that will have around 160 units in 10 different buildings with a parking garage underneath it. And I'm explaining a little bit how that would look like from a timelines perspective. So overall duration from acquiring the land till people moving in is about 12 months. Yeah. While the design of our system, which is really the building itself, is done very much automated by the configurator. The parking garage, which is a very project specific still, yeah, we still need to do in a very conventional way. And it's concrete construction, and it's, you know, digging a hole and all the things that you just need to do. So the first 2-3 months is getting that work done, then you're getting the building permit, and that takes another 3 months typically, up and down a little bit, yeah? Then you do your groundworks, and then you get the buildings up. Now, getting the buildings up is the easiest part, because that takes us, I would say, on a 5,000 square foot average building, you would do 2 floors a week, kind of like that. So if you've got a 4-story building, you're up in 2 weeks, yeah? And you can do some in parallel and so on. And then you've got some finishing, landscaping around, and that's it. Yeah, all the smart home components, everything is pre-configured. So you just put it in, and it can be commissioned remotely. So you don't need to send people through that. So that's all going in parallel. So I would say a year would be a good ballpark figure.
So 12 months to a year. Great question, Tom. Thank you very much. And I think that's important to understand. I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing with offsite construction now, you know, especially modular and volumetric. But the difference here is you have a continuous way of making the entire experience better, not only internally for your team and your process, but for the occupants of the building and those that have to maintain the life cycle of the building. And I think this is where, you know, some of the companies are falling short, right? They have all this opportunity to put all of this in place, like GROPYUS is doing, to really make it a better experience. And in the long run, it's gonna save you time and costs for operating your facilities as well once you fine tune everything. So, Bernd, I appreciate you coming on the show today. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that you say before we wrap it up?
Maybe just one thing, and you introduced it a little bit, Dave. Thanks.
Sure.
I think the point of looking at buildings from a total cost of ownership over a life cycle, I think that is a very, very, very important notion to it, right? Very often we focus on first cost of construction, and that's the wrong approach. Yeah, right. You're having, you know, 20 to 25% of your total cost of a building over its lifespan is construction, and the rest is the rest that nobody really looks at. Yeah, right. And I think that makes a big difference from a sustainability perspective, from an energy efficiency perspective, from a perspective of having, you know, happy tenants. Yeah. You need to have a very free product over the whole life cycle.
Yeah, and I think I mean, couldn't agree with you more there. So, all right, everybody, listen. I mean, Bernd, I don't know what to say. I mean, you're kind of doing everything that I dream of every night that all the companies would really put in place. So it's super exciting to have you on the show and to have you doing this today and talking to us. So don't go anywhere. I'll come right back to you here in a moment. So thank you very much. All right, everybody, listen, that is a wrap. How did you like GROPYUS? If you like them, go and follow them. If you like what we're doing here on the Dave Cooper Live Show, be sure to go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. Let us know that you're there so we can bring you all the latest and greatest, because I know not everybody has time to stop at lunchtime to watch what we do, so you can watch it anytime if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel at Dave Cooper Live. That's all you got to type in. We'll pop right up. So I appreciate everything, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you on Wednesday at 1 p.m. and then again on Friday with Mark Barenaked, Willie again at 1 p.m. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bernd, I'll come right back to you. Bye now.